Welcome to the Holy Hour, the All Cure podcast. This is Gavin, and thanks for joining us. We have the latest installment this week for the 2016 tour coverage that we've been kind enough to get if you've caught the last few episodes. Basically, we've been tagging along with Arusha Baker, director-producer of Push, a Cure fan documentary. More details at the end of the program. And she's been hitting the shows and following the band around for as much as possible. It started out in New Orleans, and we covered some ground in Texas, made our way to the West Coast, where there's 3 awesome shows at the Hollywood Bowl. Seemed like they went really well in the Northwest, too, and they're starting to make their way back east now. And on June 2nd, The Cure played Boise, Idaho for the first time ever. And guess what? Arusha was there. And from what I could tell, it sounds like this might have been a slightly different kind of show, and not for, crazy rare set list reasons, but just something about this show that made it a little bit different than the other ones. And I won't try to give away any spoilers or anything up front here, so just let Arusha walk you through this and see what you think by the end. And it's basically broken up into a little pre-show. We even get some during show snippets this time. I don't think it's anything long enough to get sued over, but apologies in advance. And then we get some after show thoughts, and then a little bit of insight into Arusha herself. So she's been out there in the trenches, and to see how that's panning out for her, and we get to know her a little better, which is a great thing. So sit back, get yourself an adult beverage, and picture yourself in the fine state of Idaho. Take it away, Arusha.
You're listening to the Holy Hour podcast, and I am sitting in front of the CenturyLink Arena. It's 3 o'clock. There is not one fan to be found. There's some drunk guy approaching me right now. It's so dead. It's crazy. And then also, on the outside of the venue, there's all this construction. I mean, no one would, you would never know that The Cure are playing here today. Never in a million years. It's so interesting to me compared to places like Los Angeles, where people were there at noon, or it is quiet as a mouse over here, man. Construction, people going to work, like it's so abnormally normal. All right, I'm standing outside the doors. Well, I mean, either the band's sound checking or their team is sound checking, but there's no fans listening. Play for today? Yeah? It's crazy. No one is here. No one. Okay, team. Cure fan count is now up to 3 outside of soundcheck. 3 people. Maybe there's 5 lurking around somewhere. But, yeah. Good times.
You can hear really good right here, too. Oh.
This is Arusha from the Holy Hour podcast and Push, a Cure fan documentary. Now there are 12 fans outside in Boise, Idaho. And we're listening to... You want to say hi to the podcast?
Sure. Hello.
Hi.
Hi, lovely Idaho.
Hi there. Hello.
So they're playing Last Day of Summer. We're outside. We found a really good echo chamber. It's very exciting.
Oh.
It's going to be a great show, right, guys?
I know, I'm so excited.
Yay!
The set list so far have been fantastic.
Right?
So we're going to tomorrow.
I have to interject here now to let you know that for the first time on the Holy Hour, we are listening to an exclusive clip from inside the stadium during the actual show, and they're playing Sinking nonetheless.
So we'll continue on from where I just left off, because in my head it's going... Well, let's just see if I can get it out of there. This is amusing. We haven't played, and Boise is one of those. I said Boise in a row. I am. What I meant to say was, it's hard to know what to play.
This is post Boise, Idaho. And I'm in front of the arena, and if you can imagine a very small office space. It literally looks like an office, and there's a bunch of construction barriers, so everybody's kind of squeezed around and to one corner, milling about. There were some fans who tried to get Robert's autograph, but he ran away on a bus. I have so much to say. There's somebody walking by in a wedding dress. I wonder if she just got married. Anyway, the show was fucking great, but to me the greatest thing about it was that the crowd was so excited. You know, you could see that there were people here who had never had the opportunity to see The Cure, and for me to witness a lot of joy in people's faces, young and old, it just always makes me happy. There were some people that left early. They did their traditional 4 encore set, but for the most part, the crowd was going fucking bananas. Can I get your name, please?
My name is Joey
Joey
Padilla.
Padilla and
Amity Mercado.
say that again.
Amity Mercado.
And
Alyssa Krobath.
thank you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Look, and many.
It's called the Holy Hour Podcast. I don't know if you've heard about it, but would you guys like to give a little 2-second review of the show? What'd you think?
It was awesome.
It was a great show. They played forever. It was amazing.
I felt all of the feelers like all in one. Yes.
Goosebumps?
Yeah, so many goosebumps. It was awesome. Like from listening to them to childhood to adolescence to now, like it's probably the best concert ever that I've been to.
Right on top.
Yeah.
Is this the first time you've seen them?
Yes, it is.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are you all from Boise?
No, California originally. Been here a little while.
You live here now?
Yeah.
I mean, I've been a Cure fan forever, as long as I know. I mean,
What,
since I was
20 years?
since I was. I mean, one of my earliest memories is singing.
This is Josh, by the way. He's also in Push, a Cure fan documentary. If for God's sakes I ever get funding and all the permission I need to get it fucking finished. Anyway, he's in the film.
That's another story.
That's another story. But back to now.
One of my earliest memories is singing "Fire in Cairo" with my all the many other people in my family when I was maybe 6 or 7, when I was a little kid. So
Yeah.
I mean, Cure's been a part of my life forever. And when I finally saw them in 2000, and I was 17? When was I 18? I don't know. And I was thrilled just to be in the room with them, you know. That was the first time I saw them.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it was totally thrilled. Everything surrounding it, the entire experience was easily one of the most important, most pivotal moments of my life, without a doubt. It has transformed. I would not have taken the life path that I had taken had it not been for that experience.
Right.
But ultimately, the shows themselves, as thrilling as they were, when I'd step back from a subjective view of it as a musical experience, I was always sort of let down.
Really? Even then?
Yeah, even then. Even knowing everything,
Wow.
Yeah,
you fooled me.
I know. I'm sure looking back at the videos then, I'd have been just glowing. But levels were great. I thought they were going to be bad because it didn't sound so good with Twilight Sad, but they started pulling out the volume, which is they write it in every liner note, so you have to listen to this music loud, and now my ears are ringing, so they did that, at least that part right.
Right.
But no, they sounded great. Even songs like End, which even if I am at my most critical, and it's been 25 years that you've been singing Stop Loving Me, oh, I'm done with this, I'm an old man.
Right.
But still, he was putting serious heart into that. It was great. I mean, he even came back seeming astonished at himself. They are my favorite band, bar none. Absolutely. So critically important to them. And there's nothing wrong, I think, with when something is that meaningful to you, recognize the failings.
Of course. Totally.
And this thing, his playing these same lyrics over and over, it kind of ruins songs like Plain Song, where the lyrics were so great, and that little that trick of, I think it's dark and looks like rain, he said, when it's blowing like the end of the world, he said, and he smiled for a second. That little lyrical trick sounded so good in that song.
Right.
And now that it's played out and leaves the poetry out, it sort of cheapens the original, cheapens Plain Song. And the other times that he did it so effectively.
I mean, it's interesting that you say that, though, because it's just not how I hear. That's not how I listen to music, I guess, because, like, plain song to me is just plain song.
How do you mean?
It stands alone. The Secret Life of a Love Song, like, to quote Nick Cave, it takes on a life of its own, and it's a standalone song. Like, some songs are, like, part of a whole record. Some songs can be part of a time period. Mm-hmm. To me, a song like Plain Song is something that stands alone. It doesn't affect me in that reverse way.
I think that the way things play out in the future recasts what happened before. Look at any historical rock and roll, it's been completely recast. You'll think about it. There's no way to listen to Elvis Presley today the way it was heard in the 50s. It's so difficult to allow any of that to stand on its own because of how because of what has evolved afterwards, and some of it has enriched based on what follows. It's impossible to let it stand alone.
Yeah, I guess I just disagree. I mean, it's hard for me when you say Elvis because I don't like Elvis.
So, you don't have to. I'm not really a big fan either,
but I could say, you know, like if you let's say I could kind of see what you're saying with a band like the Beatles, right? Uh-huh. In the sense that when the Beatles came out, or when Elvis Presley, you know, came out into the world, like the world had never seen or experienced something like that. So of course, like kids like us, or you know, like, or like a girl like me at 16, like by the time I was 16, those things already existed. Yeah. So it's not going to be the same. However, and even like 5 years ago, I rediscovered a song that now has a new meaning for me. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't have the mania and the hype that the Beatles, the impact that the Beatles had in history. But for me, like, I'm Only Sleeping, for some reason I really fucking love that song now, and I never listened to it. And it hit me.
This is his first time singing that.
Your first time singing
yeah. And it was fucking epic. That's all I've got for that. I mean, it was insanely good. I know I said this earlier today. My voice is gone because I sang. Yeah, I was singing every word. But I said this earlier, and it's probably blasphemy for me to say as a Cure fan, but I'm not a huge fan of Disintegration. I don't really. That album to me is not that great. I like the things before and after, and so for me, there was a lot during the main set that was Disintegration based, because that's really their cream and butter for a lot of people. But after that, during the encores, where they got into more of, they branched out more onto their set list. That's where I really like got into it, like Shake Dog Shake. I was so excited for, and all of the Kiss Me album songs that they did, and all Head on the Door. I love that kind of stuff, and I would say I've been a Cure fan since I was born. I mean, it's never not been in our home. Like, it's always played. My mom has said that she's pretty sure that the album Boise Don't Cry was playing on the way home from the hospital. Like, I don't know life without it.
This is also the brother that, you know, when he came home and he was like, when he was a baby and crying, to put him to sleep, we would play Skinny Puppy.
Which probably explains my love of eclectic and crazy music. So, yeah, I mean, I am so glad that it was excellent.
I'm going to come across as such a curmudgeon. I totally not. I mean, like, they actually were really great. This, I think, was the best I've ever seen them. I really do think this was the best. And I think Reeves Gabriel's actually adds a lot.
Yeah,
I think he was
excellent.
I mean, they got to keep him caged a bit, like, you know, during End or whatever. Like, he comes out a little bit too far, but he adds that texture that the Cure really needs. You know, they thrive on having that, like, thick wall of sound. But Disintegration is built on multiple. Disintegration is totally built on all of those layers upon layers of arpeggios and ambient sound. And a big part of that was what Paul Thompson was able to contribute with the ambient sound and the arpeggios that he was able to add. I mean, that's why Paris sounds so good, is because Paul Thompson can add all of that texture to the music. Now, I agree that like the simplicity is one of the best. I mean, my favorite album is 17 Seconds, and it doesn't get more spare than that.
Right.
But they haven't sounded like that in forever. And Paul Thompson was all over those songs and made them lush. The lushness that he added was, I mean, that was what redefined The Cure in the late 80s, you know, in 87 to 92, you know, like that's, I think that lushness really, the lushness of his guitar and the lushness of Boris's drums redefined them from the spare sound, even when the spareness was like brutal as it was in Pornography. That was like a redefinition of them. That's also like very much of that era. That would never, you know, people can't do that today. Even bands that like tried to recreate that 10 or 20 years ago, however long it was, like Interpol, like they can't genuinely do it with the like vacuous sound that 17 Seconds had. Even Interpol, though they were trying to achieve something like, or the vacuous sound that Unknown Pleasures or Closer had, they still had to fill the gaps.
All right, man.
Yeah, we're jibber jabbering.
This is Arusha, the director and producer of Push, a Cure fan documentary, signing out. Boise, Idaho, we love you. I thought the crowd was great, by the way.
Oh, the crowd,
Yeah.
I think, was a huge part of why this was so good tonight. The crowd was so thrilled. You could see they were thrilled, and you could hear how thrilled Robert was to play, to perform.
And I couldn't understand exactly what he said at the end, but it almost sounded like he said, "We'll be back."
Yeah, he said that.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's hope so. All right, Gavin. All right, everybody. Good night. I have to give it up to the Twilight Sad. And I was apprehensive at first because it's a tall order to open for The Cure. Tonight, I don't know if it was a combination of the fact that I was alone at the show. I was really, really tired, so it's probably hypersensitive. I don't know if any of you people out there notice that about yourselves. I would tend to think that a lot of Cure fans get sensitive and emotional more than other people, but maybe not. I don't know. I do. And it's worse when I'm really tired or I'm really hungry or, you know, any of those things. Anyway, so whatever the Twilight Sad opened with in Boise, Idaho, I mean, I got chills. I was crying. It was just beautiful. And what is it? James is James a singer? Everyone's gonna think I'm so stupid, but I'm a very visceral person, sort of the moment and into it at the time. I'm terrible with facts, and I make lots of typos and whatnot. Don't hire me as your secretary. Anyway, you know, I don't know where his mind was at. I don't know where he gets his inspiration, but whatever it is, it was fucking summoned. It was summoned today in Boise, Idaho, and he just seemed so grateful. The whole band did as well. Anyway, so yeah, Twilight Sad growing on me, and I feel so grateful that I get to see them more and more, because I actually was more affected by them tonight than The Cure, and not, you know, I'm always affected by The Cure, but I don't know, there was some distractions. There was some bro sitting next to me trying to talk to me, which was fine. He's a nice guy, but since I was there alone, you know, I'm sure that there are a lot of people out there that relate to this. It's like when I go to a show, I want to be really fucking into the show. I don't want to have chit chat. If I want to chit chat with somebody, I'll step off the, you know, I won't be. I'm there to listen to the band, and I'm there to experience every moment to its fullest. And it doesn't mean that I can't have fun and like. Anyway, this guy was distracting me, and I was annoyed. He said, "So what's your favorite song?" And I said, I don't have a favorite song. There's too many, you know, I love all their songs. And I told him, you're talking to a girl who's been to over 100 shows. So he was beside himself. And the show, the concert went on. And then the guy's like, wait a minute, I gotta ask, why have you seen him 100 times? And I kind of didn't want to answer him. That question has always annoyed me, and it's part of the inspiration for my film, is I don't really get why, sports fans aren't asked why they have season tickets. Somebody could tell me that they want to go walk down the street and do a push-up on the sidewalk every day, every Thursday, at the fourth moon of whatever the fuck, and if that brings them joy or whatever, it's like I don't know why. If I tell you that I've seen a band 100 times, I must be getting something out of it, right? Anyway, although there is no typical Cure fan, I think that if you are a fan of the band, you are probably a somewhat introspective person, because the lyrics are that way, so many of them, and there's so many emotions up and down, in and out. It can be such a personal experience versus like seeing Guns N' Roses. It's like, it's party time, so yeah, there I was. I think it was probably after Sinking. I was psyched to hear Sinking, but I was in sort of this tired emotional state, and bro was asking me questions, and I told him, I gave him a bunch of answers of why I go to see The Cure so many times. But then, of course, this is what also happens to me. I don't know if it happens to you, but I'm like, why am I here? Why can't I be completely normal, married with 2 kids, successful job? I'm in my 40s, and nothing about the way I live my life is normal. It's not totally abnormal, it's like I'm not a part of some sort of swingers club or something, but, crazy. I'm not like wild and wacky. It just got me thinking about that, and that sometimes, the opposite of feeling elated by doing what I want to do, which in this moment is, going to my 107th Cure show or whatever it is, I do ask myself, like, what is wrong with me? Why can't I just be satisfied with what one is supposed to be satisfied with and just be there? And then I started thinking about what music brings to me, and what seeing a live show and being surrounded by people who are so excited to be there, it makes it a lot easier for me to be present 100%, and that is a gift. When I was younger, I used to say a lot that I noticed that people were walking around asleep, like sort of half checked in, half checked out. And that's, in life, I think it's a very good defense mechanism, because if you're fully aware and you're giving 100% all the time, it makes you vulnerable. It can be exhausting, so it's kind of good, you need to check out and, be sleepwalking and sort of be on autopilot sometimes. It's a defense mechanism. But when that becomes the norm, I think the danger is that as you get older, you become half dead. And, I don't like it when I'm that way. I've definitely been able to be that way, when I'm working on a job I don't want to do, when I'm with people I don't want to be with, when I, make 1,000 mistakes in a row, and I just, I kind of half check out, you know. And sometimes I've learned with time to become so detached. Again, just to be less open and raw, because you know we don't live in a fantasy world where that way of being is how you survive. Anyway, so I guess that's the thing about The Cure, which I find really interesting, is that when I'm at these shows, it is much easier for me to be fully present and just absorb everything and take it in. And sometimes a song like Sinking will bring me back to when I was younger. But with... Ooh, I'm tired. I'm driving to Denver. But with all the songs from Hand on the Door and with my experiences with following the band, it brings me back to when I was 15 and 20 and 25 and 30 and now, and I think about the future. I just, you know, I think of a lot of things. So, yeah, I guess part of the reason why I find any excuse in any way I can to go to a show, if I choose to do so, I just know how satisfying it will be to me on so many levels. I love traveling to see music. I think it's one of the best things that you can do, because you're solely focused on, you know, your road trip is like with a specific destination in mind. I mean, that's another thing I haven't understood, is like, oh, I got 2 weeks off vacation, I'm gonna go to Maui. I guess if you want to like sit on the beach and do nothing, which I totally get, but like, I don't know, I just enjoy traveling when there's an event or a show or a birthday or something, a one-of-a-kind moment. It just suits me better, I guess. I was close enough in the venue in Boise to really, you know, experience songs as one should, I think. And for me, you know, I don't know what the background is, why they chose to name the Twilight Sad, but I am half Brazilian, and there's a term in Portuguese, in both Portugal and Brazil, called saudade. And I'm going to read to you what it means if you look it up. Saudade, a feeling of longing, melancholy, or nostalgia that is supposedly characteristic of the Portuguese or Brazilian temperament. Alright, that's me. And then on Wikipedia, it says, saudade is a deep emotional state of nostalgic or profound melancholic longing for an absent something or someone that one loves. Moreover, it often carries a repressed knowledge that the object of longing might never return. A stronger form of saudade might be felt towards people and things whose whereabouts are unknown. You know, my mother's Brazilian, and she kind of just, it's hard to describe in English, but it's, I feel personally like it's something I was fucking born with, and I didn't choose it, and I don't resent it, but I sometimes get frustrated when I feel that I have to explain why a sad song might move me and make me actually feel more connected. And that's what I felt last night with the Twilight Sad. I felt like I, you know, experienced the songs in a very deeply personal way. I'm getting like weird and spiritual, but like Haitians, you know, like they say that too. Like they don't think about heaven, they don't think about hell, they think about bringing the spirit here. Like we need it now in this fucking place. So I felt like that a little bit, and even if, who knows, maybe he's just faking it, but he's doing a good fucking job. I also felt like I witnessed gratitude from them in Boise, and I really mean that, and that was very touching. And to top all that off, you know, it was the beginning of the night in a city that the Cure's never played in. People were really slowly listening to the songs and enjoying them, and by the end of the Twilight Sad set list, they were standing. Some of them, not all of them, but again, it was like witnessing a pure experience of here and now, that where people were listening to a band they've never heard before. They were enjoying themselves. They were moved. Some of them moved enough to stand, and I think the Twilight Sad, you know, got some fans that night. But yeah, and I also, you know, those moments to me are precious too, because we're all on our phones now. But, you know, it's so great when you can, like, step away from the media and the checking in every 5 seconds and just be in the moment. And that's where it's at, man. That's what it's all about. Okay, the other thing I have to say is that, you know, I was saying earlier, when I left the show, I was, like, kind of beside myself. I was emotional the whole night, wondering what the fuck I'm doing. Some guy asked me why I see the Cure so much. And then, of course, when people ask me that, I begin to ask myself. So I'm driving from Boise. I'm really tired. I'm thinking I'm a fucking idiot. And I stop at a rest stop to rest my eyes, and there's another Cure fan there. And she's driving to the next show. Her name's Lauren, and we just met at the Boise show. I sold her a ticket. It was lovely to meet her. She's totally enthusiastic and excited to just be at the shows. And it was just, I don't know, it was like another little affirmation in life. Like, here I am driving on the road alone. But wait, I'm not alone. There's another Cure fan, and I'm sure there's many other people that don't give a shit about the Cure, but they're on their own little journey where they're, you know, driving on the road, getting from here to there. And she happened to talk to some of the bus drivers that work on the tour, and they've been very kind to her, and they were on the road too, of course. So once again, there's this vacillation between isolation and connection. And if you dig this kind of music, you might dig that.
All right. Thanks, Arusha. Sounded like quite an evening out there. A lot of emotions. It was hard to say where that was going to go from the start, with hardly anyone at the sound check and the Cure never playing Boise before. Seemed like it was shaping up to be the first, you know, flat Cure show, but the fans really pulled it through. And those audio clips in the middle were great. It's cool to hear stuff from the inside. And I know there's a lot of crowd noise there in parts, but that was kind of driving the point home that Arusha was making, that these guys are going apeshit for the Cure and really up the level, and that always brings out the best in a band. So pretty awesome. On top of that, it sounded like another great set list, and the band's really just delivering each show. So pretty cool. And thanks so much to the people that talked to Arusha after the show. Joey, Amity, Alyssa, sorry if I'm mispronouncing anyone's names, but Joshua Powell, and I believe it was his brother there that had some insight to share, and we appreciate it. We get all kinds of perspectives here on the Holy Hour. Sometimes it's not what you want to hear, but that's the cool thing about the Cure. They've been around so long, everybody's got some kind of tweaked vision of what they love and what they get out of this stuff. So it's cool to hear every angle. And most importantly, thanking Arusha again. She had some great words of wisdom there at the end, and really cool just to hear the perspective of her out there on the road and doing this night after night. The perspective of not only the super fan, but people that are just passionate about things. And I think that's something that we've all questioned at times when we have our collections or things that we're obsessive over. You kind of always hit that wall and you're like, what the fuck am I doing, you know? And it's those moments that bring you back that make you even that much more devoted and able to justify it all. It is sad. There's so many people out there that aren't passionate about anything. And, you know, when you find something, you got to go for it that way. And if nothing else, it seems like The Cure's notorious for saving us all on that level. Seems like as kids, maybe that's the one thing too. Growing up being a Cure fan, people were always giving you hell for it seemed like, and you know, it was easy to feel like you're the only person on the planet feeling these things, and The Cure was always what roped you in, and you'd see somebody else with another Cure t-shirt on and you realize you aren't the only one and you're not totally crazy. And it's a nice feeling when you realize that there's a lot of other crazy people out there just like you. So, yeah, on that note, we're going to hit the road and see where we go next. And thanks again so much to Arusha Baker. Please check out her documentary, Push, Cure Fan Documentary, curefandocumentary.com. You can find out all the contact information to get updates on it, and more importantly, donate some money. Like she said, we gotta get this thing funded, figure out ways to put it out there. Started in 2000, so this is 16 years in the making. Fucking Boyhood doesn't have shit on this thing, so we gotta make sure this happens. So drop a few dollars to her, and subscribe to all the fan sites there so you can follow updates on it and drop her a line. And be sure to subscribe to The Holy Hour on iTunes. Leave some comments. Follow us on The Holy Hour Podcast on Instagram, or just email me at gavinconner@gmail.com. Everybody take care on the road out there. Be safe, and maybe we'll see you in Charlotte. Till next time. Talk hard.